Well, it's not Tom O'Brien. It's Dave White sitting in for the one and only Tom O'Brien. Tom had to go out for some personal business, and I guess he'll be back on Wednesday. In the meantime, I'm going to sit here and try to recap the day for you. And all I can think of is, that song from James Taylor, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. He wrote that song about being manic depressive, and, he saw sunny days that would never end and just clouds that would follow him around. If you were looking at Friday, it was certainly Friday, and today, Manic Monday. Oh, I like that Bangles song. Just another Manic Monday. So it's the manic depressive period of the market. So what did we actually do today? We went to 2120, which is where I was looking for a test. And what happened? Everybody had to dive in and start buying at that 2119.12, which is the low of the day on the S&P cash. We got to 2163, which is just short of the bottom of the trading range, 2165. Pulled back to 2195 by the end of the day. Volume came in at 3.8 billion shares in the New York Consolidated Tape. That compares to 4.35 billion shares on Friday. So about 500 million shares short for the energy we had up on the downside. Looking at a great deal of stocks, this is where you can really start separating the wheat from the chaff. Who got the love and who didn't? That's actually, even if the market goes the opposite direction that you think it will, or that you are placing your positions on, it's a great time to get information from the market, because this is exactly what's telling us, is it a short squeeze? Did it have light volume? Was it actual buying? Or was it just more of the same that we've seen over the last 2 months as this market's whipped left and right? It started off with with the futures dramatically lower when I woke up this morning at about 5:30. And little by little, between the Treasury pushing out more cash and Fed speakers coming out saying, we need to raise rates, but probably not for the next 10 years. In fact, a wise man once told me, I can't remember who he was now. He says, everything matters after the but. Whatever you hear anybody says, oh, he's a wonderful guy, but, which means you discount everything he said before it and just pay attention to after the but. Bertha. But it is one of those things where you have to kind of look at it and go, okay, came in here about 500 million shares short on the volume compared to Friday. We didn't get everything back from those highs of 2180. Of course, no one's expecting to happen at all in one day. Did happen kind of all in one day on the downside. But, that 2165 kind of looms as the gate for that trading range that we were in, and actually the push that we were at. The question is, what's going on with this market? And a lot of winding up. We've got options expiration this week, and of course we go into Fed Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. The only thing that's really going to be anything of note, I think, for news this week is Oracle earnings after the bell. I don't think that's going to be one way or the other. That never seems to move more than 50 cents or a buck one way or the other. So unless they have a giant surprise, which my guess would be to the downside and not the upside, if it's to the upside, it'll be 50 cents. If it's to the downside, it could be $2 or $3. But, we've got a few rare occasions, politically, a lot of discussion about whether the Fed today is being somewhat political. I don't know the answer to that. I know that they are being active, though. I can't tell you why they are doing it, but they are very much interested in keeping this market as flat as possible. I suspect it is to soak up as much money as possible in the markets. But as always, I like to start off my show between 2 and 3 each day with a little bit of history.
And it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
On this day in 1968, as the tech boom starts H. Ross Perot takes his electronic data systems public for $16.50 a share, 118 times earnings. Perot had steadfastly kept his company private, refusing 17 offers to do an IPO until investment banker Ken Langione, who you see on CNBC quite a lot, declared that he would sell the stock for over 100 times earnings. By early 1970, the stock is $160. And of course, Ross Perot goes back into an election and becomes a player on the national stage in our politics. You just don't hear much about him anymore.
There will be a giant sucking sound.
Other than that. Anyway, 21.95, we'll be watching it. It just seems like there's going to be another shoe to drop. I don't know what's going to happen. When you look at, of course, the foreign markets, or the at least, not, I don't know if you want to call them foreign markets, but if you want to call the European markets, off pretty hard for the most part. They were down at about 2% early morning. The FTSE closed off about to 1.1%. The DAX off 1.34%. The CAC off 1.15%. Stocks 1%. AEX was off 1%. So you didn't have a whole lot into the also rans. When we look at Asia, if you're just getting in your cars, the Nikkei, of course, closed earlier than when the Fed came out and started pumping this morning. 1.7% lower. Shanghai, 1.8%. The HSI off 3.36%. So we had a lot of action. 2% in the Kospi, 2% in the ASX 200. That's the Australians, for you people in Lutz, Florida. The NZZ, or the NZX 50, I don't think it traded today. And the JSX comp was off 1.6%. So we had some fairly tough news coming out here. About 8 o'clock, the Fed really got wound up. A lot of people started to speak. Supposedly, they are not supposed to speak the few weeks before the Fed meeting, but they've now moved that to Friday. So they can jawbone all they want up until Friday, although the rule used to be the week before the Fed meeting, including it. And apparently, if you have a bad whack on Friday, they will come out with a lot of cold water for the bears on Monday. But what else do we have out here? As we said, after the bell on Oracle, and that's about it. Now, as we said, it's very important to make sure and look at your charts tonight, because this is where you're really going to start seeing the trends develop. Who got the love and who didn't?